consider him a friend and mentor. I've said that to him before, and I'm just following his steps, more or less, through Rotary. He's a retired U.S. Army and Army Reserve person. He's also an engineer at some company in Alvin. He joined Rotary in, what year was it? Long time ago in New York, and came to Texas, of course, like everybody else, as fast as they could. And more or less, he has been, when I met him, I was talking about this, when I met him, he was just an assistant governor for my club in La Porte at that time. And I was watching him, you know, this guy keep coming back. Before we didn't have that, we had an assistant governor say hi, and then we didn't see him again, maybe until 3 or 4 or 5 months later, but he kept coming back more often. And the more I talked to him, the more I said, you know, hey, look, I'm going to be president of the club soon. And after when I became president, I found out that he was going to be governor. So I said, hey, look, you know, I want to be an assistant governor. So I did it last year and this year again, and I'm really enjoying it. And he's going to talk to you about the theme and about himself and about what being a governor is all about, and about this great district of ours, maybe one of the best districts in the world, and experiences so far. And like I said last week, he's doing more for youth this year than many governors have done in the past. So we're here with District Governor Chris Schneider.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to come and spend some time with you. It's going to be a tough act to follow. Maybe I don't know if I can go up to that. I'll try. But before we start, we have to clean up some business from last year. Barbara, I need you to come up here and receive this award that the Rotary Club of Caroline received from District Governor Ronda. And that was the membership award for the highest percentage of new members for 2011 to 2012. It's got a lot of things to say.
All right.
Yes.
He's trying to rub off a little. Good luck on it. Exactly.
Don't clean it up.
Well, again, I want to thank you for the opportunity for me to come visit. This is probably the best part of being district governor, is coming to visit clubs and watching all the things that they do out in the community, which is really awesome. This, as Frank mentioned, is the year of peace. Our theme is peace through service, and Sakuji Tanaka is really a man that feels that this is the goal for Rotary, is to bring peace to the world, and I'm sure we're going to be able to accomplish that. And part of that, he's asked the clubs to participate in a peace forum, or hold a peace forum with some of the other clubs in the district, so that we can bring the message to non-Rotarians what we are all about, and through our service work, how we are able to bring peace to our communities, not just locally, but all over the world. Now, I also want to thank this Rotary Club for all the work that you're doing. I mean, it's phenomenal when you look at all the projects that you have going on in the community, and I thank you for that. But I also want to thank you for your work that you do internationally, and a lot of that is funded through the Rotary Foundation. And since the founding of this club 46 years ago, you've contributed $139,000 to the Rotary Foundation, and for that you certainly deserve a round of applause. So thank you for your contribution. Do we have any veterans in the room? Please stand up. Let's recognize you.
That's hard.
Let's give these gentlemen a round of applause. We have a big day next month. 11th of November is Veterans Day, so make sure you keep them in your thoughts and prayers. And I like to make sure that we recognize the veterans, because the veterans are the defenders of our freedom. It is because of their sacrifice and their service that we've had the opportunity to enjoy the freedoms in this country, to include being able to enjoy Rotary International. So they absolutely deserve a fantastic round of applause. I also like to recognize every once in a while Rotarians that go above and beyond, and I have a special little pin that I like to award to Ed Slayback. It's called the Above and Beyond Rotary Pin. Come on down here.
Hey. All right. Good.
All right. Now, in this modern day and age, we use technology, which now needs to be taped on an iPad. So I encourage to use the technology that we have at our disposal. Use Twitter, use Facebook, use all the tools that we have to communicate with one another. Even use Rotary.org. How many of you have member access on Rotary.org and have gone there to look at your profiles on Rotary? Those that haven't, it's very simple to do. Just log on to Rotary.org. What you will need in order to create your access is your Rotary number. And you know where you find your Rotary number? How many of you get a Rotarian magazine? Rotarian magazine. There's your Rotary number, and then you'll just have to create a password, and in you go. And the reason why I'm encouraging you to go to Rotary.org, you're going to be seeing, and some changes have already occurred, some major changes occurring to the Rotary website, which will participate a lot more information for Rotarians that everybody will see. Also, the district website at Rotary5890.org is an important resource. Although, hopefully everybody's posting things that are going on in the clubs to the district website, because believe it or not, the district staff looks at the calendars to see what's available, and if they're not busy, they come to attend your functions, and I've encouraged them to do so. The only one thing I want to err on the side of caution, especially with technologies with email. Email is a wonderful tool. Love to communicate. You can copy everybody in, get one message out, and everybody's copied in on it. The problem is when there's a problem, when somebody gets disgruntled, they like to do that same thing, and they push send, and boom, this nasty gram goes out, and everybody goes, wow, what's all this about? So I ask you to please err on the side of caution when using email in that manner. If there are problems, and some of the clubs have them, address that one-to-one, either in person or with a telephone call. Email is so impersonal, and we as Rotarians, as a family of Rotary, need to maintain that personal touch. In January of this year, I attended the International Assembly in San Diego. That's where all 532 district governors from around the world, and yes, I saw Brenda there too. She's a great district governor in our neighborhood District 5910. And this is where we get our final training before we assume our office. We have a new General Secretary, John Hugo. He comes from a multinational corporation and brings some really fantastic ideas to Rotary. But before assuming the office of General Secretary, he traveled around the world to look at the various Rotary clubs. And one of the things that he's noticed is that there seems to be a disconnect between Rotary and the Rotary Foundation. The Rotary Foundation is our financial vehicle for doing good, not just in the world, but in our local communities. And I'll explain that a little more when I get to the topic on foundation. So what he's tried to do, and he's asked us to bring out to the clubs, is that he's trying to tie the foundation closer to Rotary, what's called one Rotary approach. And out of that, there's 5 issues that he asked us to address. And the first one being our #1 service project. What's our #1 service project in Rotary? Polio. And how close are we to eradicating polio?
Two countries?
It's close. 3 countries left.
3.
And why do you think Rotary picked polio? We were told we couldn't do it. Remember when the doctors tried in the Philippines and they said they were looking for somebody to help? The World Health Organization said it's an impossible task. But Rotarians stepped up to the plate and said, we can do this. And we have done it. And we're that close from eradicating it. And what else are we doing with polio? What are we saving? Children. Rotary is giving a gift to this planet by saving the children of our earth. What a phenomenal gift you're giving this planet. Saving our children. Not only that, when we finally complete the task of eradicating polio, we give the planet another gift, and it's a financial gift. We will be saving $40 to $50 billion in healthcare costs. It's another phenomenal gift that Rotary gives. And the success with the eradication of polio will set the stage for the next major challenge we as Rotarians will face. We don't know what that is yet. There are a couple of things that they're thinking about doing, and hopefully when Bob Gephardt comes back from International Assembly, we will know something about what that will be. Some people are saying it could be water, it could be another illness, but we'll see what happens. The second thing is to operationalize the new strategic plan. Rotary International has installed a new 5-year strategic plan. I've rewritten our strategic plan, which is valid for 3 years. And the reason why the strategic plan is important, we are the only organization in the world that changes our leadership every single year. That means every single club president, which is more than 34,000 club presidents, 532 district governors, and the president of Rotary International change. And when you have such a major shift in leadership, you think that causes problems? All of a sudden you got one project that goes away because somebody didn't like it. So what the strategic plan is there to do is to define a leadership succession so that we don't go through these hills and valleys, to try to make sure that we maintain an even keel in our organization. And that's why the strategic plan is important. And part of that is, again, why I asked you to go to Rotary.org, is something called Rotary Club Central. The full rollout of that will occur at the end of this year. And that will allow Rotarians from around the world to engage each other in projects. Talk about what's going on the other side of the world. Get some ideas, some fresh ideas that we could possibly implement, or share with them that they can implement, to tie us closer together as a family of Rotary. Third thing, future vision. This is the last year of the pilot. The Rotary Foundation spends approximately $100 million every year in projects. And with the future vision being brought out, there are a couple of problems that have cropped up, and we're in the pilot district, so we've been making some suggestions to Rotary, and they'll be coming out once Bob assumes office. And I'll get more into that when I discuss the foundation in a little bit more detail. Then membership. There's a 3-year regional plan coming out, and I know you've probably already received this package, and that's the new Ignite program. And I'm going to discuss that also a little bit more when I talk about membership. Jonathan, I don't know if you already have one, but I'll give you another one. And that's a regional plan because throughout the world, Rotary has different problems. You know, in the United States, we're the only country that really has difficulty with membership. And I'm going to address that as well. And finally, the General Secretary would like us to make sure that Rotary remains as a key player on international issues on the world platform. How many of you are aware that Rotary International, as a non-governmental organization, holds a seat at the United Nations? Rotary International is the only service organization that holds a seat at the UN. That seat is occupied by the Rotary Club of New York. Whenever there's a session, a general session of the United Nations, the Rotary Club of New York sends a member of their club to sit in on those meetings to represent us. Now, some people have heartburn with the UN. I do too, but I think it's important that we stay viable there because we can have influence on what goes on in the world by maintaining that seat. And if you do decide to go up to New York City to visit the UN, stop by the Rotary Club in New York and pay my dad a visit. He's a past president of the Rotary Club in New York. The only problem is lunch is $50, so prepare to dig into your pocket to go to lunch there. But maybe he'll even invite you, it won't cost you anything. So finally, coming to the foundation. There have been some projects in the foundation that have gone away, such as Group Study Exchange, GSE, which seems to be very popular in our district. I've been assured by the foundation or by Rotary International that it isn't going away. It's just been shifted to us. We have to assume that responsibility in the district. This year, the funding, I had actually put some money aside in the district budget to fund the GSE team, but because we're in that pilot situation, we weren't able to put one together. But next year, I'm told Bob is allowed to fund the GSE through his district designated fund. So we will still continue to do GSE in our district because it is a favorite project for us. And regardless of our feelings for the foundation, it is our financial vehicle. It is the vehicle we use to do good in the world. And what happens under the future vision, which we're under, is everything is a grant. That includes all the district monies, all the international monies become grants. The only problem is we have to take care of the stewardship of that money. We become responsible for it instead of Rotary International. That's supposed to give us more control over the way we spend our money. The neat thing is, with global grants, the minimum grant becomes $30,000. And that's pretty significant. And I think it's also a misnomer to call it a global grant, because global grants, in our minds, say it's money that has to go outside of our community. Actually, global grants can come to us. And I've encouraged club presidents to think of projects, and I've also encouraged district staff to think of projects which we can bring here and have that $30,000 impact. Because we do send so much money overseas, why not bring some of that back? And this is why even at International Assembly, when some of the governors came to me from Pakistan and India saying, hey, can you send money our way? I said, only under one condition. You send some my way. And we see it doesn't happen very often, but it's going to start happening that we start bringing some of that money back to us. And that's the good thing about the future vision. And also in the future visions, we have the 6 areas of focus, which is to help us maintain our streamlined focus on the projects that we undertake. And the 6 of them are, first one being peace and conflict prevention and resolution, disease prevention and treatment, water and sanitation, maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, economic and community development. And many of the projects we already do fall under those categories. So we're just going to maintain the focus in those areas. Now to the subject that really comes near and dear to my heart. How many of you think we have a problem with membership at Rotary? Yeah, I think so too. I agree with you. One of the things I discussed at PETS with the club presidents when we were doing our training was, let's take a look at rebuilding our foundation. That means returning to our core values. Now we see organizations that are over 100 years old, as is Rotary, and we even look at our own nation, where we start to think we're losing our path. And that's because we've wandered away from what our core values are, what our foundation is. And I believe if we can put our foundation back together and strengthen that foundation, we can re-establish the membership in the United States for Rotary. And there's 5 simple core values that Rotary has. And what do you think the first core value is? It's in our motto. Service. It's a pretty powerful core value. The next one is fellowship, what we're doing here. Leadership, diversity, integrity. Those are some pretty powerful core values. And if we can reinstitute those core values into our organization and put our foundation back on stable grounds, we can rebuild the membership in our country. The other thing we need to do is we have to stop the bleeding. So retention is the focus. One of the goals I set forth for the district is to maintain a 90% retention rate. Because if we don't retain the members, then we're lost. And retention seems to be the key. And part of that retention is the most neglected avenue of service we have, because we as Rotarians are so focused on doing so much for somebody else. You know, we do all these projects out in the community, we give to the foundation, we do all these other projects outside. We forget the most important lane of service, and that's club service. Taking care of each other, taking care of ourselves, taking care of the Rotary Club. You know, in my club, what we've instituted is called the buddy system. You know, we've been all paired up with another Rotarian, and if your buddy doesn't show up, it becomes your responsibility to call them up and say, hey, where have you been? Because you never know, maybe they had an accident, maybe they had a death in the family, maybe somebody got sick. And wouldn't it be nice to reach out to them and say, hey, listen, we care about you, you are a family of Rotary, you know, can we do anything to help you? What better way to strengthen the organization than showing people that we really care for each other? So that's why that's very important. And when we talk about bringing new members in, think of quality, not quantity. Now that's one of the questions I posed at PETS. Did we in Rotary create our own revolving door by lowering the standards of Rotary? Because we've had Rotary International presidents that say we want 10% net increase in membership. And being the good Rotarians we were, we went out and got that 10%, but the next year the president had a different focus, and those 10% disappeared, and more, because it was no longer a focus. So we created that our own door. So when you do go look for new members, make sure you look for quality, not the quantity. The numbers aren't important. You know, when it comes to bringing members into Rotary, 8 years ago, Rotary International had 1.2 million members. In those 8 years, we brought in 1.2 million members. You know how many we have today? 1.2 million members. So recruiting is not a problem for Rotarians. We can do it. The thing is, we got to keep them. And that's how we have to engage them. And this Ignite program, parts of it, are very good in working on retention programs. So what I'd like you to consider when it comes to membership are 2 things, because we are an invite-only organization. You know, you can't just walk into Rotary Club and say, I want to join. You have to be invited. So think about why you were asked to join Rotary. And most importantly, why did you say yes? Did you just come to occupy a seat, or did you come here to do something for the community? So think about that. And if you had 1 year as district governor to make a change to help Rotary, what would that be? And if you have an idea, let me know at the end of the meeting, and I'll try to implement that in my year. So what I really want to stress about membership is that it's really important that we take care of one another. Let's be proactive rather than reactive to situations. You know, when we were asked to join Rotary, we become a member of Rotary Club. But after a period of time, we go through a transition. We go from being a member of a Rotary Club to becoming a Rotarian. How many of you have had that experience? You know, and for everybody, it's a different experience. Some people have that experience when they go to an NID, which is National Immunization Day, and they administer polio drops. For some, it's going to a backpack buddy program, giving out backpacks to the kids at school so they have food to eat over the weekend. Some of them, it's working with interactors, Rotaractors. But for every person, that Rotary moment is different. And that's when the light goes on and goes, aha, now I know why I'm a Rotarian. You know, when we talk about membership, you know, we've had our membership seminar and they discussed the elevator speech. And I'm not a big fan of that elevator speech. You know, and they say, well, you know, if you're in an elevator and somebody gets on and they see that Rotary pin in your lapel or on your collar, and they say, hey, what's that? Oh, that's Rotary. And we're trained to say, well, when they ask, what's Rotary? We say, oh, we're an organization of men and women, business people that are 1.2 million strong. We're active in all kinds of areas of service, and we do this, that, and we do that, and the other thing. The person sits there and goes, oh, okay, doors open, they walk off, and just lost a perfect opportunity to recruit a new member. Because it's not the statistics that impress people. What I'd like you to do is share with that person that Rotary moment you had when you went from being a member of a Rotary club to becoming a Rotarian. Because when you tell that story, that will touch them in the heart and make them want to join our organization. Not that we have to go out and pull them in. So share that instead of throwing over the statistics. That they can get later when you do your orientation. Where else does the future of our organization lie? Don't say anything.
Youth.
Bingo, youth. It's our newest avenue of service, new generations, which includes Early Act First Night, Interact, Rotaract, RILA, our youth exchange programs. That's the future of our organization, because we get the kids young, we instill in them the four-way test, we instill in them the ethics. And the Rotary clubs are successful in the district, not just in our district, but all over the globe, are those clubs that engage the youth. And you know, there's something phenomenal that happens when you're involved with the Interact Club, or your Rotaractors, or you're involved with the youth exchange. That youth that they bring rubs off on us. Young energy, you know, we seem to absorb that. But on the other hand, our experience and knowledge rubs off on them. So it's an even exchange. And they want to be part of us. And you know, that's another reason why I encourage you to use technology, because that's how they communicate. But that's not how they want to interact. They'll communicate electronically, but they want to interact person to person. So it's important that when you communicate with young people, that you also engage them on a one-to-one basis. So include your youth in your programs that you do. Now, invite them to your club, attend their meetings. Now, have a good interaction with them. A couple of important dates that we've got coming up. We're still a little bit, or I'm going to speed this up a little bit. We have a friendship exchange that was here from Sweden. They've already gone, but we're looking for the team that's outbound, so if you're interested in going to Sweden, we're going to go outbound in June of next year prior to the International Convention so that we can tie the trips together. So keep that in mind. There'll be more information coming out. RILA Camp is earlier this year. It's February 8th through the 10th because they pushed up pets. District Conference, where we go to celebrate the accomplishments of all the Rotary clubs in the district, is where? Where are we going? We're going to the High Hill Country in San Antonio, Texas. And that's April 18th to the 21st. And what I didn't realize when I made the reservations for our conference is we're going to be there during Fiesta. So we're going to have a good time. I've asked the conference chair to keep our Rotary content to a minimum so we can enjoy and have fun during Fiesta. Because that's what it's about, to have fun. Then on the 15th of June, we install the next District Governor, Bob Gephardt. And then the big final event of the year is the RI Convention in Lisbon, Portugal, and that's June 22nd to the 27th. What I also want to mention real quick is we're also selecting, or looking for the next District Governor for year 15-16. How many of you know what it takes to become District Governor? What are the two requirements? Past President, I heard, that's correct. And the other requirement is that you had to be a Rotarian for 7 years the day you take office. Not 7 years when you apply, but the time you take office. And the duties of the District Governor, I've got a couple of handouts here. If you're interested in what the duties are, there's 14 of them that are required of the District Governor. The other thing that disturbs me is when I go around, people say, well, if you have to be District Governor, you have to be rich and you have to have a lot of time. Well, I'll tell you, money is not an issue, because Rotary has now started giving the governors a stipend to help cover the expenses for being District Governor. And usually the sponsoring club will also put some money to the side to help cover those expenses that that stipend doesn't cover. So it should not be a financial issue unless you just like spending money, and you can do that as governor. But it's not required. Time. What we try to do in our district is to demonstrate that you can still work a full-time job and serve as District Governor. I'm still working. Rhonda was working. Bob plans on working if he doesn't get too pissed off at the bank, but he plans on working. And Lisa, following him, is also going to continue to work. So it is possible. The only thing I can tell you at the end of the day, I'm damn tired. but you can do it. It's possible. So I encourage you, if you're interested in serving as District Governor, do so. I'd like to have a governor come out of the Pearland Club, although I know somebody else wants to do it. So the last thing I would like to share with you in closing is why I became a Rotarian and why I stepped up to do this job. Today I celebrate 17 years of sobriety. I am a recovering alcoholic. And and I go, I'm asked with my busy schedule, do I still go to my AA meetings? I go, absolutely. People go, well, why? sober long enough. It's because I go to witness miracles. Now, when you see somebody that comes off the street beaten up by alcoholism or drug abuse or some kind of addiction, and they come into a 12-step program and they work that program and they become a productive member of society again, like me, that's a miracle. But you know what's even more of a miracle? When I come to Rotary and I see all these miracle workers sitting here. You are miracle workers. The problem is you're in it. You don't see it. But I, from the outside as the governor, visiting the clubs and seeing the projects you do and what you do for your communities, that's a miracle. I mean, if you don't believe it, step out and take a look. Who else would be so selfless other than a Rotarian to do the work that we do in our communities? And if that still doesn't convince you, look what we do for Polio Plus. What a miracle we are all doing when we participate in the foundation by eradicating polio. That's a miracle, folks. And you are miracle workers. And I'm honored and awed to serve you as your district governor, because it's awe-inspiring. And thank you for the miracles that you perform on a daily basis in our communities. Thank you so much.